instead of looking for success in order to be happy, try to focus on being happy, and the success will come. I think that got me thinking about having a job or a business that I can do from anywhere. It doesn't have to be travel blogging. But yeah, that started to, when you have a seed in your brain that start to grow, that's when it started.
What is up, Nomad Entrepreneurs? Welcome back to another episode of the Nomad Entrepreneur Podcast. And I'm still your beautiful host, Daniel Falonipe. And if you have been here 2 times, 3 times, maybe even if it's just 1 time, and you're back again to listen to this episode, I think you deserve my thanks and appreciation. And I want to thank you and appreciate you for coming back again, for making this podcast your favorite. Maybe it's not up there yet, but believe me, I am doing my damn best to make sure that I bring you banger episodes every single time. So welcome back, and this episode is no different from the last 4 episodes that I've been bringing you. It's another fire one, and in this special one, I have a conversation. It's an hour-long conversation with Karim Kerachni. Karim is a digital nomad through and through, and he's got a wealth of experience building local businesses, and even now transitioning into a different kind of business, which we will talk about in this episode. And he just dropped a ton of knowledge. We talked about, building local business in cleaning services and just growing that to the point that he was able to, sell a portion of that business, and now switching his focus to a different kind of business. And he shared a lot of information, a lot of strategy, and, just underlying information that you wouldn't find anywhere else about building this types of local businesses in the cleaning services and just about any local service business, in fact. And we talked about, life, traveling, getting married. In fact, he just got married recently, and he talked about that as well. We talk about how to find happiness. We talk about working remotely, how to be productive. We even talked about religion and how it gives structure to our lives. And we had so much conversation ranging across, many different topics in digital nomad, remote work, landscape. And I think this episode is going to be one that you enjoy a lot because, you can tell from the energy in the conversation that we were both having fun, even though it was past midnight when he was recording that. So I want to welcome you again to this episode, and I hope you enjoyed as much as I did. And if you do, I want to invite you to leave a review, leave us a feedback, because my goal is to make this podcast the go-to resource for digital nomads and entrepreneurs, or anyone who's trying to build something while traveling or while living their best life. And the only way to do that is to make this podcast as discoverable to as many people as possible. And your feedback allows us to do that. I would very much love to hear from you. And if you have any guest suggestions, or maybe you want to come on this show, shoot me an email at ifdaniel.did@gmail.com. That's ifdaniel.did@gmail.com. Again, I want to thank you for being a part of this journey. And without further ado, let's get into this conversation with Karim Kerachni. But before I do that, hold on. We have to cue the intro. And I'll see you on the other side. Welcome to Nomad Entrepreneur, the podcast for digital nomads and remote working entrepreneurs who are living life on their own terms. I'm your host and fellow nomad, Daniel Falonipe, and I'm excited to bring you conversations with inspiring individuals who are building businesses from anywhere in the world. Each episode will dive into their stories, tips, and strategies for creating a successful and fulfilling location-independent lifestyles. So grab your headphones, kick back, and join me as I explore the freedom and adventure of the nomadic life. Let's get started. Yes, super excited to have you on the podcast, Nomad Entrepreneur Karim. Your story is one that I really find fascinating. You've been into a lot of things. You run businesses. You've taken a lot of risk, obviously, that has paid off, and I love your mantra specifically about working, living to work back versus working to live, and that's really one of the things I want to dive into in this podcast. Obviously, you told me that this conversation can go whichever direction because obviously you have so much to talk about, and I'm really just excited to to dive into your story and just to see if we can inspire someone hearing this right now. Anyone who's looking to work, travel, build a business, and just build a lifestyle around their work and not the other way around. So thanks for joining me on the podcast, Karim. Excited to have you.
Thank you so much, Daniel. It's a real pleasure being here, and specifically, I mean, I love the concept of your show. It's on point for
Mm,
my life, but I think, as you said, it's a great podcast to inspire others. And I'm a big preacher and a big believer in the nomadic lifestyle, specifically for our
right.
generation, and the next one. So I
Thank you,
love what you
man.
do.
Thank you. So, set the scene for me a little bit. Where are you right now? I know you travel quite a bit. Where in the world are you right now? Where are you talking to me from?
Yeah, so I'm on an island named
Mm,
Penang in Malaysia, so in Southeast Asia. I've been here for almost exactly 4 months, and I'm gonna be here hopefully for another, 4 to 8 months,
wow.
most likely. And yeah, prior to that, I was in Kuwait for 7 months, and I went back and forth to Saudi Arabia, went to Dubai. So this past year has been very
Yeah,
travel-y.
that's interesting. So, like I said, I'm in Tirana, Albania right now, and I will be flying back to US. And I've just been traveling a lot myself in the last 2 years. Just went from having sort of like working in 95, to now, working online and being able to see much of the world as possible. But yeah, your story goes back many years when you moved, I believe, to Canada from France, if I read that
That's
correctly.
right.
And tell me a little bit about that move from when you were younger living in Canada and how all that played out in those early years.
Absolutely, yeah. So to set the scene, I was born in Canada, in Montreal, but we left when I was 2.5 years old. So I don't remember. But I have the citizenship. I
Mm,
knew I had the citizenship, but that's it. We moved back to Algeria. That's where my parents are from, and then to France a couple of years later when I was 7. Because also part of my family, I'm a quarter French and three
right.
quarters Algerian. So I have those three citizenships, and but never really used them to besides going back and forth to Algeria to visit so the family once a year, once every 2 years. Besides that, I grew up in France from 7 till 24, so most
Wow.
of my life. But when I was in France, I was often saying that, hey, I'm Canadian. It didn't really make sense because I
Right.
was born in Canada, but I had no memories of Canada and whatnot. But I like this identity and this triple,
Hmm.
citizenship and being unique in that sense. So anyhow, fast forward to 2024, I was finishing
Did
my
you say
master's degree
2024?
in uh, sorry, 2014 when I was
Are we going
24.
into the future now? That's
2014 when I was 24. Yeah. Yeah, thank you for
yeah.
catching that. So in 2014, when I was 24, I was finishing my master's degree. I did an MBA, in France, but I had to do a semester
Mm,
abroad. So I decided, hey, let's go check out Canada because
yeah.
I've done that. I was Canadian, but I need to actually see that country. So I moved to out west to Alberta,
Mm,
which is the second province after sorry, British Columbia, BC. So out west there is BC, then there is Alberta. That's where I landed. It's a province that is very similar to
mm.
Texas in a lot of ways. It's full of oil, it's full of cows, it's full of
Wow,
cowboys and
nice.
country music. So that was really cool. That was a big
Right.
change from coming from France. So I did 6 months there, and because I could, I decided, hey, let's stay a little bit longer. So I stayed another 6 months, and landed because I just finished my
Mm,
studies. So I decided to start working. I mean, I had to start working, and my background was in sales, so I've decided to try sales, but in English. So I was, an extra challenge, and I had to practice my English this way. So that's what I've done, and that
Right.
not only. So I was in
I've been
door-to-door sales,
I've been there,
so which
done
is
that.
very hard, even if it's your first
Yeah.
language.
Door to door, I was
But if
selling clean energy, they
you've
called
done
it.
that, what did you do? What did you sell? Oh, cool. Awesome. I was in home security and
Interesting.
smart home
Oh yeah, of
products and
course.
services, which was great. Vivint, I don't know if you're familiar with the brand, but yeah. And so the cool thing, as you know, in door to door, if you
Hmm.
stick to it, if you don't give up like 90% of people who
Right.
start, you actually can make really good money. And so that's I wouldn't say that I made huge amount, but for a first real job
Wow.
and working 4 months, I made something like 40
You must
grand
have been
in
really
four
good.
months, 4 or 5 months. Yeah, that was fun. I mean, I was not the best in the sense of I know people who made
Wow.
6 figure and even 7 figures in a summer, and there are ways to do that, but yeah, that's besides the point. My point being, I've done that, worked hard, and with my
Hmm.
teammates, we're like, let's go travel because now we have a bunch of money. We're young, so we went to Southeast Asia, traveled for
Right.
about 5 6 months in all those countries in Southeast Asia, and that's really where I caught the travel
Ah,
bug,
that's
and I have it to this day. um, yeah, and so I've done that for a couple of years, for about 3 years. I traveled for about
mm,
6 months, came back to Canada, worked for about 4 or 5 months, made a bunch of money, and went to spend it all again in travels, um, which was nice and fun. But
yeah.
nice and fun when you're young, when you're not married, when you don't have kids, and so on.
Mm,
But I figured it was not sustainable, so I caught the mindset. I started to have this mindset of, I don't want to wait for to be 60, 70 years old to potentially enjoy my life and start traveling and so on. If I'm still alive, if I have, good pension or whatever. Um,
right.
Nothing wrong, by the way, for people who who think this way, but that was not for me. And so but on the other hand, working for a few months, making a bunch of money, then going to spend it all in travels and so on, was not sustainable long term. So I started thinking, hey, I should find a way to make it sustainable. And the best way, I mean, as I was traveling, I was seeing some digital nomads, and I was seeing specifically some
Right.
travel influencers, various like travel bloggers and so on. So I started looking into that. Never really did anything into that, but I started looking into that, and I think that got me thinking about having
Mm,
a job or a business that I can do from anywhere. It doesn't have to be travel blogging, but yeah,
right.
that started to when you have a seed in your brain that start to grow, that's when it started. So again, fast forward a few years, I moved out east, Halifax, Nova Scotia, on the east coast, literally on the Atlantic coast. Great city, loved it. The city, I thought that could be a place where I could see myself, settling down, eventually.
Right.
So I started a business there, my first real business, mine. I've helped some friends before with their businesses, but this one was actually mine. And so it was a cleaning company, so something, very modest, very not necessarily glamorous, but that was a great way to
Mm,
learn how to start a business and how to run a business. And that was also the opportunity, as I was growing it.
right.
My goal was to remove myself from the process, not working in the business, not having myself a job, but having myself a business that I can run, and
Hmm.
decide to work on it or not. So the first year and a half, 2 years of the business were focused on that, not necessarily to go travel again, because I was really enjoying, this entrepreneur lifestyle. And
Hmm.
even though I was working 15 plus hours a day, that was something I
Right.
was really enjoying, having this, my baby that I can grow in any direction I want, and even the challenges that come with it and so on. But as I was, so we're now in 2021, 2020, yeah, 2021. That's when really I realized, okay, I think I'm pretty much fully hands off. I had a great team, a manager that was not only running the business but actually growing it. Her name was Peggy. Shout out to Peggy if she hears that. And I had assistant manager, admin, and so on. I even started another branch for that business in Ottawa with a business partner who's one of my best friends. We've decided to let's copy this model to another city. But at that point, I mean, everything I was doing was from home. So that's when the idea of taking this show on the road, came to I wouldn't say came to fruition, but came to a point where I started thinking about it seriously, looking at countries where I could be starting to to travel to and so on and so forth. Um, then last year, um, so actually not end of 2021, early 2022, I started another business. Not I wasn't planning on it, but just a big opportunity came my way. So I've decided to jump into it. So I started another business, which is the one I'm doing right now. It's with propertyguys.com. I'm in charge of franchise development in Massachusetts for propertyguys.com. So I'm looking for franchisee basically to champion a property guys model in Massachusetts. And as I was starting this business, I thought, hey, Steammates, my cleaning company, I'm not really needed in the business, so there is no problem in starting this other one. But as I started it, it actually required a lot more of my time, my energy, and so on. So I figured I should sell my cleaning company first in order to focus fully on property guys, and that kept me grounded for one more year last year in Halifax, and now to conclude with this whole this whole journey, and an extra fun thing happened to me.
Oh, wow.
I met my wife remotely. I actually met her parents. I've been introduced to her parents, who lived near me, and we were part of the same mosque and same community, Muslim community. Anyways, we got introduced. I was looking to get married, and she wasn't. Her parents wanted her to get married, but she wasn't ready. Anyways, introduced us, and right away we knew, literally from the first time, second time we talked, we
Wow.
knew we were the right fit.
I
But
see.
she was in Kuwait, I was in Canada. So for 3.5 months we were talking remotely. We knew we were going to get married, and but we went through the process, getting to know one another and goals and values and so on. And
Wow.
a year ago exactly, so August last year, I went to Kuwait to meet her in person, but also to start preparing the wedding. And September 8th, which is next week, we so September 8th of last year, we got married. Our family, came. We had something very small and intimate, but we did married and got married there. So I was in Kuwait, had my businesses in Canada.
Right.
She was working there, so I couldn't, bring her to Canada. She had to do obviously also all the immigration process and so
Wow.
on. So I stayed in Kuwait, and that was the very surprising start of my
Right.
nomadic lifestyle. Digital nomad lifestyle came from the fact that I got married abroad,
Yeah.
and everything resulted to that. My businesses where I was working remotely already, and yeah, that's I mean, now a year later, we lived in Kuwait for 7 months together, traveled to a few countries. We went to Dubai, we went to Saudi
That's
Arabia,
awesome,
and
man.
then we
That's
moved
that's
four
that's
months
so
ago to
much
Malaysia,
within
and that's where we are now.
within a lot of years, and so many to unpack there. You talked about working in sales and using that. Of course, you made some money, traveled a little bit. Then you started your own business, and I really just want to start with that, where you thought about starting the cleaning business, because it's quite interesting, because I had a conversation with someone on this podcast. I think it's like two, maybe like two episodes before this one, and we were talking about they have a cleaning franchise, and we were talking about yes, it's called Made
Oh, really?
This. The owner, Neil. Oh, you did, yeah.
I saw it. Yeah,
Yeah,
I saw it on
yeah,
your
very
podcast
similar
list. I haven't listened to
to what
it
you're
yet,
talking
though. It's
about
on my
now,
list.
and I just want to get your thoughts on this starting this type of business, right? Because a lot of people, we overlook the idea of starting a local business, for example. As young people, we're so drawn into, everybody wants to start an online business, want to, make this internet money, right? While not looking at this blue ocean
Mm-hmm.
opportunity that lie in local business services, because these are businesses
Mm-hmm.
that everybody needs. I mean, I don't care
Absolutely.
how advanced AI becomes. AI is not going to go fix your
Yep.
leaky faucet, or your so what led you
Absolutely.
to thinking there
Yeah.
might be an opportunity here, and what were the first initial processes like, from say ideation to actually implementing on this idea? And we'll talk about the next steps, which is of course having your first customers and making that for initial money later on. But talk to me about initially how that idea came to be, and
Absolutely.
how you just went ahead and implemented it.
Yeah, no, that's a great
No,
question. And by the way, I apologize for
it's great. I
monologuing because
love to
I
hear
realized
stories like
afterward,
this.
hey, I've been talking.
It gives me a great platform to set the conversation and
Awesome.
just set the tone. So that was great. Don't apologize for that.
Great, great. I'm I'm glad. But yeah, no, that's a great question. So I mean, really straight up, I the opportunity just came. It
Hmm.
didn't come to me, but I mean, actually came to me from the fact that I was still working with Vivint. I was still doing home security, smart home. I actually came out east to Halifax with the idea to
Hmm.
open a branch there, an office there for Vivint. And so as I was networking and meeting people, realtors, property managers, and so on, I got maybe within a week 3 people
Wow.
telling me, "Hey, do you know any good cleaners? I need cleaner for my building, or cleaners for my client." And I tried
I
a bunch of
see.
people on Kijiji. Kijiji is the equivalent of Craigslist in Canada. So I've tried a few people on Kijiji, and they all suck. I literally heard that sentence a few times. And when you're open to opportunities, and I think that's a mindset that you have to develop. It's
Hmm.
not necessarily something that most people have naturally, but you have to grow your mind in looking for opportunities and capturing those opportunities. So I saw something, a demand in a market, a demand that didn't have enough supplies, and so that was the first spark. But similarly and in parallel to that, I was having a conversation with another serial entrepreneur, who was in the service industry, and who we were chatting about steam cleaners, steam machine that allows you to do all type of cleaning with no
Wow.
chemicals. It's pressured steam, very hot steam, and you can degrease your oven, you can clean your windows, you can clean your floors. Anyhow, so I kind of matched those two things, and purchased. I didn't have much money at that time, but I purchased a pretty expensive commercial steamer, and I made the whole brand around whole brand and offering and services around that. So the fact that we
Wow.
were eco-friendly, we were the only one having that machine in the province, and being able to do all kind of cleaning with no chemicals. If you have young kids, if you have pets, and so on, there is no chemicals, coming in your house. So that's how the business started. That's how I started promoting it. The name of the
Yeah.
company is Steam Mates, which is the mates of steam, and it's also almost a
Ah.
palindrome, so you can read it the same both ways, which is pretty sweet. And yeah, that's how it started. So really, the supply and demand. When you see an opportunity, I mean, look into it. You don't have to jump into it, but my advice would be to look for opportunities, not necessarily something that you're going to get into, but to as you're talking to other professionals, friends, and so on, to get your mind thinking. Is there something I can do here? What would be kind of the business model, the business plan for that? How can I make money, with this idea? It doesn't have to be something very unique. You're the first person thinking about that. No, it can be something, as basic as, quote unquote basic, as cleaning services,
Hmm.
plumbing services, landscaping, whatever it might be. And as you do that regularly, you learn how to do some market research, some, crushing the numbers and whatnot. Over time, you're actually going to be able to do it
Hmm.
like in a matter of seconds, just in your head. Like right now, you tell me about an opportunity or a business or something, I can, pretty much see
Right.
instinctively, the type of expenses, the potential ROI, potential revenue,
Hmm.
and so on. It might
Right.
not be fully accurate, but at least, I got my mind working this way. And then, if it's something for you, obviously you can dig a little bit deeper. You can do some deeper research and so on. But yeah, so all of that to say that would be my advice. Then from there, you talked about first clients and so on. As I said at that time, I didn't have much money to spend
Right.
in that. I didn't have money, to invest in a business, and that's one of the thing with the cleaning industry and others. You can really start with
Right.
very little money, like $500, $1,000. You buy cleaning kit, and you go and you do some cleanings, and then
Hmm.
you grow on profit. That's what I did. I had my other job. I kind of put it on the side. I was doing it, I'd say part time. And I've decided to focus in learning how to clean. Obviously, I had sales experience, so finding clients was not the hardest part, but learning how to clean and then how to manage the business, the finding a
Right.
software for the scheduling, for the bookkeeping, for the marketing, the website, etc., etc., etc. That came as we go, and you have to be willing to be uncomfortable. You have to be willing to learn on the spot, to make mistakes, and and get back up quickly. All of that comes with starting a business, whatever the industry, whatever the size of the business. So if you're comfortable with that, and I'm very
I think
comfortable
it's one of
being
the
uncomfortable,
really
I don't
important
care.
skills to have, especially if you want to go down this path of entrepreneurship. There's going to be lots of uncomfortable moments. So if you're not willing to just suck up to that, I don't think entrepreneurship is something that's going to work. So you said you had to like go get your first customers. You actually do the actual cleaning, and whatnot. And at what point did you realize that, what, this might actually be working? I'm actually onto something here. Was there a moment where you came to that realization where you're thinking, damn,
Mm.
I cracked this code?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm trying to look back because that is a very good question. I would say, I mean, it's probably so about 6 months after I started, and we were doing great from the start. I mean, I was feeling the schedule quite well, and as I said, I was doing most of the cleaning. I started hiring some helpers, and then started delegating more and more. But for the entire first year, I was either doing the cleaning myself or being involved in the cleaning hands-on. But about 6 months in, so we're talking early summer
I
2029,
think
sorry,
we're going to travel into the future here at
2019.
some point. I love that.
I don't know what's going on today. You know what?
Yeah.
I
So
told
you're
you I'm in Malaysia.
technically
It's
like in the
midnight
future
here. It's
now.
actually 12:30. So you have to be patient with me. But yeah, about 6 months in 2019, that's when I had my first big client. In the sense, it was already the largest short-term rental property management company in the city.
Hmm.
I.e., they managed
Wow.
a bunch of Airbnb. They had maybe 60 Airbnb that they were managing. It was the summer, so they were super booked. So right off the bat, we went from, I don't know, I'm gonna give you a number in terms of revenue from maybe $5,000, $6,000 in
Wow.
revenue a month to 20 or 25 in a matter of days or weeks. So I had to double down, hire three times more people, start managing, start that was a lot of headaches, but that was super exciting. Not only from the fact that obviously suddenly I was making a bunch of money, but also from the fact that I was starting
Hmm.
hiring a bunch of people, and some were great, and some were seeing
Right.
this as their long term job, or at least the next few years. And I think the realization was when I had some employees full time that were making
Hmm.
great living, and that was their livelihood. They
Wow.
had their mortgage based on that. They had their family relying on it. And I realized it's not just me anymore, and it's not just some people to whom that I pay cash or pay
Hmm.
some side money. No, this is a real job for a bunch of people. So
Right.
this responsibility kind of came to came to slap me in the face, and I was obviously taking it seriously, but I've decided to actually expand and really see it as this is my next,
Mm.
5 or 10 years. This is a real business that I want to grow. I want to grow across the country. I want to take, 50% market shares in each city, et cetera, et cetera. So I think it was around that time. So 6 months in. And since, I mean, we've been growing
Wow.
150% each year for the first few years. And after COVID, we kind of, so after 2021, 2022, last year, we kind of stabilized. And
Mm.
this year as well, we've been very stable and solid. Great, again, great team, and the people within your business, whether it is subcontractors or freelancers or whatever, or employees
Mm.
that you have, really make or break the business. I cannot highlight that enough. The all your attention should be on getting the right people and on nurturing your team, your employees,
Awesome,
the
man.
company
So,
culture, and
I
so
mean,
on.
so
That's
just to dive a little bit
primordial.
deeper into like the technical aspects of these things, like what really makes each thing work, because I mean, this is sort of like a marketplace. I mean, you have to find, customers, and you have to deliver the service, right? And I think in a business like this, finding the clients is sort of like the hardest job. So for anyone listening to this right now, maybe wanting to give this a try, how would you say, how do you feel your calendar, on a consistent basis? I mean, we're talking about marketing now. What do you find to be the most reliable, consistent way to fill your calendars with, bookings and stuff, things of that nature? Is it word of mouth? Is it like, Google ads, referrals? What is it have you done that's worked really well?
Yeah, great question. So I would say first off, right off the bat, it's pretty different from one industry to another, from one job to from one company to another. But what I'm going to say is, pretty general and can work for a lot of businesses and a lot of industries. So one thing that I'm really big on, from my background, maybe from my personality as well,
Mm,
is networking. Building a network locally, nurturing those relationships with a whole bunch of professionals all over town, in a whole bunch of industries. Because not only so there are a bunch of benefit to that. So not only it's fun to do business by going to events and meeting groups and meeting people and having coffee with them and getting to know them and see how you can help them out, how you can be of value to them. And when you do so and
right.
you do so consistently, it always comes back to you one way or another. There is this reciprocity factor that makes that if you're sending some leads and introductions and helping other business owners, you're going to be top of their mind whenever they hear anything, whether it's cleaning related or whatever your industry is. So networking is something I'm really big on. And on top of that, you suddenly have a whole bunch of
Mm,
professionals for whatever you need or whatever your clients need. You ask me, an insurance guy, a realtor,
right.
a property manager, whatever it might be, social media. I have, at least two handful of great professionals that I can vouch for, all over, at this point, all over Canada and all over the US. So having this great network, and whatever you need, people in it. That's a lot of value as well. So anyhow, networking, something I highly recommend to anyone. And by the way, after this, I mean, there will be my contact info somewhere. People are welcome to reach out, even if they just want to chat and
Right.
get some advice on how to network
Yeah,
well,
absolutely.
because
That's
a lot of
that's
people don't
something
do it the
that's an
right way.
offer that
They
I
just
would
go to
take
an
up
event,
personally
give
for
some
sure.
business cards, and that's it. Absolutely, man. Anytime, you have my number now. So networking. Besides that, having some kind, if possible, having some kind of sales experience, specifically
Mm,
direct sales experience, can be door to door, can be cold calling, can be something
right.
not being in a store and waiting for people to come to buy shoes, but actually finding some clients, B2B or B2C. At least a year of proper experience with proper training. You would agree on that, I'm sure. It's
Absolutely.
extremely valuable, no matter the industry, no matter what you want to do in life. So having that, I've had that, and I've even in France, I was doing some sales, then in door to door in Canada and so on. Then I started hiring and training sales. So sales has been my my expertise for 13 plus years now. Obviously, I use that this skill when I started my
Mm,
business. So I was doing some door to door, going to meet some businesses, some business owners, some restaurants and stores and so on, and see if they needed any cleaning. I've got some great contracts out of that. I wasn't doing cold calling at that time, but long story short, having this sales ability will
right.
open the doors when you're starting a business. It is very, very important. Then beside that, you mentioned Google Ads. Yes, for us, Google Ads have been something very consistent. Where when you have some good ads that you've worked on either with a professional or even Google, a lot of people don't know that Google have
Right.
Google consultants that will reach out to you, or you can reach out to them, and they will help you, make the best ad, make the best
Absolutely.
out of your ads, because it's actually super technical.
Yeah.
You can go, deep into Google Ads, but once you have those ads, at this point for us, it's literally just a matter of
Right.
increasing or decreasing the budget depending on how much more flow and traffic you want to get, and if you want people going to your website, or if you want actual leads, people calling, etc. There is all type of Google Ads specificities and criteria and so on. So Google Ads is pretty big across any industries. Now
Mm-hmm.
with property guys, because I've talked a lot about my cleaning business, but my main focus over the past year and a half has been property guys franchise in Massachusetts. That has been, I mean, that was an opportunity for me to try a bunch of new things, because with teammates, pretty much everything I tried worked, and it was at much smaller scale. With property guys, it was
Right.
statewide, in a whole new market for the company, and so I've tried lead generation. Wouldn't advise it for
Absolutely.
often it's very expensive, and you don't get that great results. I've tried what else did I do? Social media, posting and advertising. It's also not necessarily for every industries. Facebook, Instagram, we've got some leads, but they weren't great. So what I've discovered recently, and have brought some
Mm,
really good results, is LinkedIn outreach for a lot of B2B businesses. It's simply to go on LinkedIn. I advise to get the premium version. It's like 80-90 bucks a month, but that allows you to do some very targeted
right.
searches for the exactly who is your type of client, and finding all of them within your area, within your state, or whatever, and simply reaching out to them, sending them a message. Hey, I'm Karim. We're in the same industry. We have some mutual connections.
Mm,
Let's chat. Let's have a virtual coffee, as we call it. Or you can be a little bit more aggressive and be like, hey, I have this service. From what I see, I know you would need it. Let's connect and I'll tell you more. Again, depending on your level of comfort. But LinkedIn outreach would be my other big advice if you are in B2B. And all of that, by the way, you can do from anywhere.
right.
Networking, now since COVID, it's pretty much, you can
Absolutely.
find a ton of networking groups and events online. Google Ads can do from anywhere.
Absolutely, man.
Cold
So
calling
you kind
can do
of,
from anywhere, and
segued
LinkedIn
into
outreach as well.
property guys, which is what when I talk about next. You've had this previous business that's, you've been successful with. Congrats on that. You sold some stake in that to focus on other things. And now what you're really
Thank
focused
you.
on is property guys. First, tell me what property guys is and how did you, get into that? What was the idea behind going into a completely different, industry from what you already did before.
Hmm. That's right. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, Property Guys was an opportunity brought to me by my accountant for having a coffee,
Hmm.
networking style, and he told me about that opportunity, which is different from what I'm doing now. What he brought to me. So I'm not even going to go in detail, but that's what I really discovered the company and the model. And as I told you, over the years, I developed my mind to kind of assess opportunities. And right off the bat, what he was telling me was almost like too good to be true. It's a company that, in a nutshell, Property Guys offers a different way
Hmm.
of doing real estate, of buying and selling real estate. As you probably know, most, in North America, to sell a property, for instance, to sell your house, to sell your
Absolutely.
commercial property, you have to get a realtor. That's a known fact, and it's been the same for like 100 plus years. And you pay a commission, and then you get a lawyer, and you get a photographer, you get a stager, and so on and so forth. It's quite pricey nowadays to sell any kind of property. I mean, anywhere from
Right.
20 grand all the way to maybe 80 grand. And all of that is money that should stay in your pocket,
Absolutely.
because all of that is based on the value of your property. It's a commission. So if you have $1 million property, you're gonna spend at least 50K. So that's what property guys came to fix. We believe that the real estate model and the real estate industry is broken in essence, and we need to do things differently. So what property guys does, it allows you to choose the level of control you want, first off, in the process of selling your property, and to save a ton of money, because you don't pay based on the value of your
Mm.
property, but you pay based on the services that you get. So in other words, you choose a package that contains all the service that you need. Again, stager, appraiser, photographer, inspector, listing on all platforms like Zillow, MLS. All the exposure, the marketing, showings, for a lawyer, etc. So all of that is included for a
Wow.
one-time flat fee, typically 5 grand. Doesn't matter if you have a mansion or a condo, a piece of land. So it's the same for everyone.
Right.
So I mean, it's very much a no-brainer. You can
Wow.
get the same result
Yeah,
for 10
I
times
wonder
less.
about the,
So
the legal loophole that you had to solve. Because correct me if I'm wrong. There's this. I mean, of course, the traditional way of buying and selling property, you have to go to a realtor, right? Now you're going into that industry and disrupting the way things have been done traditionally. Like, I mean, I'm guessing there must have been some pushback from the establishment, or from the big guys in this industry that you're trying to disrupt. The Remax of this world, the real estate brokers that have been so
yeah.
that have been controlling this landscape. I mean, what is the challenge with that? Talk to me
100%.
about it, because, like you said, it almost sounds too good to be true.
Absolutely, yeah, and I'll finish in a minute on exactly what I do with property guys, because I'm not an employee of property guys. I'll explain in a second exactly
Okay,
what I
yeah,
do.
please.
Actually, you know what? I'm going to start with that if you don't mind. I'll answer your question in just a second, because right now I was explaining what property guys is. And what it has been for
Mm,
25 years. So it is not a new model or a new company. It's been very successful in Canada for over
wow.
25 years. It's everywhere from coast to coast. It's just as big as Remax or Keller Williams in Canada. And from a business standpoint, it is a franchise model, meaning a franchisee. For those who don't know, a franchise is basically a business that you own, but that you operate under the
Right.
umbrella, under the brand ABC. In this case, property guys. And so, what you get as a
Exactly.
franchisee, you don't have to start a business from scratch. So it's a great opportunity for someone who wants to start a business but don't really want to start from scratch and fail, like a lot of business do. So in this case, you're basing yourself on a known brand, on a database of clients, on set systems and processes that have been perfected over the years, but also a whole bunch of support. Like the
Hmm.
marketing is usually provided by the company, the website, lead generation, the products, depending on the franchise, on the brand. Anyway, so you start with a lot of advantage compared to most businesses and startups. So anyhow, in the case of property guys, a franchisee owns a territory, a piece of the map where
Right.
he's exclusive. So he's literally one out of one. When you mentioned Remax, in any given city, a Remax office might have 200 or 300 agents, and there is usually 2 or 3 Remax
Right.
offices in within the same city. So we're talking a whole bunch of people who have the same offering, the same value proposition, working in the same office, all in competition. So as a franchisee
Mm,
of property guys, first off, you're one out of one. Any lead,
wow.
any client within your territory, they're yours. So that's a pretty big deal. On top of the fact that as a franchisee, your offering, your value proposition is vastly different than everyone else. So you stand out from the crowd. And so in this case, obviously anyone who who hears of the model, hears of the brand, and or just want to save money.
Right. Of course.
I mean, I'm talking save a lot of money. Usually, they come towards this model and they are your clients automatically. So that's kind of the idea with being a franchisee. And as a franchisee, again, compared to an agent, you actually work on a large volume of clients. You don't just work with 4, 5, 6 listings a
Wow.
year. You actually work with, on average, around 100 listings a year, and also 100 buyers and 100 renters. So very large volume of clients. So now what do I do with all of that? I'm not a franchisee myself. I'm actually
Right.
in charge of franchise development within Massachusetts. So I'm looking for people who will be championing this model in their local community everywhere in Eastern Mass. And it's been
Right.
great to bring such an amazing model to a brand new market, because it's just like being with
Yeah.
Netflix or Airbnb or Uber 20 years ago. You're disrupting the industry, as you said earlier, and
Absolutely.
an industry that really need disruption.
Yeah, I mean, I
Remind me
think
your
my
question.
question,
Sorry, I
yeah,
lost.
I think you answered it.
That's right.
What I
The
mean,
pushback.
what challenges are there? I mean, to overcome. I mean, to overcome
Yeah,
if you're coming
yeah.
into this industry that is traditionally
Hmm.
championed by all of this big
That's right.
operators.
Yeah. So that's a great question, and yeah, thank you for reminding me. So yeah, there obviously has been some pushback, because I'm disrupting where I mean, property guys and myself are disrupting
Right.
an industry that has been set in its ways for literally over 100 years. But you have to realize that not only there is a real demand, again, once again, just like for the cleaning company, there is about at least 10% of
Hmm.
sellers who already want
Yes.
to sell on their
FSBO.
own.
Yes.
It's called for sale by owner, FISBO. And so they already made the decision they want to sell on their own. Because they don't want to pay a
Right.
big commission, because they've had a bad experience before, whatever the reason might be. So already
Hmm.
10% of the market needs our service, and there is no one else out there doing what we do. So it's very unique. But on top of that, there is a lot of the traditional sellers that just don't know that
Right.
there is another alternative way of doing out there. So a large portion of the market, and I'm talking anywhere in North America, maybe 15, maybe 20, maybe in some places 50% of the market needs or would accept this model. There are some territories, there are some areas where we have 50%,
Wow.
over 50% market share. So just to prove that. But now, to answer your question, yes, there has been some pushback specifically from agents, yeah, who either think that we're going to take their client base, think that what we're doing
Hmm.
is not as valuable as what they do, whatever it might be. But surprisingly, not as many as I thought. A lot of agents that I talked to were actually quite friendly to the idea, and actually a lot of agents even agreed with the fact that
Right.
the system of commission is outdated. I mean, there is more and more discount brokerages already, like brokerages that offer 3%, 2%, maybe even 1%. So that means the industry is going towards that direction of
Right.
kicking out the percent the commission, right? And in which case, property guys is a good alternative. And you know what I found out actually about 6 7 months ago? That's when I really started getting some good traction, some good success. Instead of
Hmm.
avoiding talking to agents, which I was doing initially, I didn't want to talk to agents
Yeah,
because I
like
didn't want
kick
to
the hornet's nest, like they
hurt their
say.
feelings or anything. uh, Exactly. I actually did the exact opposite. I decided to, you know what? Out of the hundreds of franchisees that we've had over the years,
Hmm.
majority of them actually came from the real estate industry. So I turned things around and say, no, I'm actually going to target specifically agents, real estate brokers, mortgage brokers, and basically people in the industry, and specifically agents, and
Exactly.
because they are a perfect fit for what we do. When you think about it, not only they have usually a passion for the industry, they have good knowledge of the industry and the market, but on top of that, the vast majority of
Right.
agents, they're barely making a living, or they're just making a living, but majority of them are not where they'd like to be financially, work-life balance wise, And so being a franchisee is an excellent opportunity for them because they typically would make a lot more income. They would be business owners instead of contractors. They wouldn't just go from one deal to the other as they do, but they actually own a business that has value, and they will grow that value and then
Wow.
potentially sell their business for like 10 times more. So that's a pretty big deal. And I mean, just the fact that they're going to be bringing so much
Right.
more value to so much more clients, so many more clients. If they really care about real
Yeah,
estate and
absolutely.
about
And
their
looking back
clients,
in
that's
hindsight, I
an
think,
obvious route
I mean,
for them.
correct me if I'm wrong here. It only makes sense that you talk to these people who, like you said, have knowledge of the industry, passion for the industry, and are not currently where they want to be financially. I think these three ingredients are, just like the perfect ingredient for the kind of people that you're looking for who would be interested in getting a franchise. And that leads me to the next question, which I think it answers itself, and that would be like, who is this business model perfect for? And I think I think
Here you go.
whoever possessed these three ingredients would be a perfect fit for being a franchisee. Am I right to say that?
That's correct. So I kind of put them in
Okay.
two main buckets or three. So what I call buckets, I mean, I don't know if it's the right term, but basically, yeah, people actually not three. The real estate agents, mortgage
Mm,
brokers, real estate lawyers. Those are kind of the prime target, the prime candidate, because of the reasons that we just mentioned. In fact, mortgage brokers and real estate lawyers, they can really maximize their profit and their income because not only they're franchisee, but they also, continue being
right.
mortgage brokers or lawyers or whatever, and so they actually can double dip. They can have those franchisee using their
Right.
service as mortgage or lawyer, and vice versa. So that's a great way to maximize profit. So anyhow, that bucket, real estate agents, real estate brokers, mortgage brokers, real estate lawyers, and similar professions. The second one is entrepreneurs, business owners, investors, people who already, have one or
Right.
two or 10 businesses and are looking for their next opportunity. Well, that's a great addition to their portfolio, especially if they are in an industry that is close to a real estate,
Exactly.
like cleaning. Someone who owns a good cleaning company is looking for another venture in real estate. They don't necessarily want to get their real estate
Wow.
license because as a franchisee you don't need a real estate license. You can very much again maximize your profit with your two or three businesses. And the third bucket, just anyone who's looking to start a
Right.
business but doesn't know how or doesn't know what or doesn't want to start from scratch. I mean, there are so many people who are sick of their 9 to 5. They want to be entrepreneurs. It's kind of trendy nowadays, but they don't have the right idea. They don't want to. They don't maybe don't have the
Yeah.
quote unquote courage to start from something from scratch that 20% chance might fail. So in this case, they tend to look into franchise because franchise, again, it's a known model, brand, system, and so on. And if they're looking into franchise and they have some inclination towards real estate, I mean, there is no better fit because beside that,
Right.
what is it? Owning a real estate brokerage like
Absolutely.
Remax. I mean, you need years of experience as an agent and so on. It's super expensive, like hundreds of thousands of dollars. A property gas franchise, to give you an idea, with less than 100K, not only you can own your territory but operate it
Wow.
for the first year actually. So it's really very it's made
Yeah.
affordable, and it's
That's
highly
that's that's really
profitable. It's
awesome,
it's
man.
low
And
overhead,
you
so
kind of,
you can really make
yeah,
a lot of
I
money.
mean,
Yeah.
kind of alluded to it too, because I was going to ask you, what financial profile are you looking for when you're looking for prospects for this kind of businesses, and you're saying with less than 100K, you can get it started and run it for a good amount of time.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Of
100K. I mean,
course.
you might not have obviously 100K lying around. I don't, but you can. A lot of people get a loan. get
Mm-hmm.
this business is SBA approved, which is a special type of loan for small businesses and startups and so on. So or getting an investor, getting someone who invests in you, believes in you, or business partner that want to come on board with you. Just before actually our conversation, I was on the call with a great potential franchisee, and she's in insurance.
Right.
And want to continue, being in insurance. She loves it. Been doing that for 20 years. And so I was telling her, I mean, we were discussing the idea of either going in business with her husband or with a business partner that, they would share the initial investment and they would share the workload, and share the profit. A lot of
Yeah.
franchisee actually are what we call power couple, so spouses, brothers and sisters, business partners, and they work really well because they can have kind of a
That's
side a
great.
side
And
business,
what, say for
and
example,
both
what is the
be involved and
potential
grow
of,
their
say,
franchise.
someone having this kind of business or investing in this kind of business, and say they want something that can be a little bit hands off in the future. Maybe they just want this to run, um, you know, uh, or
Yeah,
they just want it to run
I'm so
independently
glad
of
you
their
asked.
involvement. Of course, it's not saying that you're going to plug into this and you're just going to leave it running by itself. It still requires some looking after in the initial days. But is there like an opportunity for someone to want to go that route? Maybe just
Absolutely.
leave it automated, kind of.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'm so glad you asked because I wanted to actually mention
Absolutely
that,
right.
since obviously it's also on topic with your podcast. Um, yeah. So I mean, for property as franchisee, there has been many that took that basically became remote. I'm not going to call it passive income because yeah, it's um, I don't think it is wise to own a business and just not do anything at all, in it. You want to, yeah, but being remote, that's absolutely doable. But exactly as you said, not right away. You're starting a franchise, even if you buy an existing franchise, you want to be hands on for
Right.
the first 6 months, 1 year, whatever long it might be, depending on your involvement in it. You should be involved getting it off the ground and starting creating. I mean, obviously it comes with a set of systems and processes, but then you kind of adapt it to you, to your market, and so on. And so to start looking into being remote. Whether it is a property gas franchise or really any business, it does take some time. It does take, I
Right.
want to say, at least 6 months to a year to remove yourself from the process. By the way, I would plug a book that if anyone here hasn't read or listened, it's called The E Myth. The E Myth. Highly, highly, highly recommend
Hmm.
this book. It's a game changer for any business owners or aspiring business owners. The idea is basically how to create systems and processes and remove yourself from the process of the business. I'm really summarizing it here in one line, but it's really worth reading. Anyways, so back to property as franchise. Yes, after a year of operating it and start and delegating some of those duties, a lot of it can be done
Hmm.
remotely if you have trusted people that follow the system, the processes. They are well trained and they can run your business, on the ground, or even just a general manager. I had a conversation with another potential franchisee who should be starting towards the end of the year,
Wow.
and he has already, I think, 12 businesses. He's, really, really big business owner, entrepreneur. He will not be able to run his business hands on, but he has, the means and the capital to right off the bat buy the franchise, get a general manager paid, whatever it might be, 60K a year, who runs the business for him. That also might not be for
Hmm.
for everyone, but it is an option, or anything in between. You know, my point being, pretty much any business that you own, you can turn it into something remote. I have this conversation very often when I'm networking, coaches, consultants, and so on.
Right.
They often are the face of their business, and they make their whole business around them, which is great. Again, they might have some great skills and so on, but not only
Hmm.
they can't really grow and
Right.
expand because they become their own bottleneck. Everything relies on them. So I'm often telling them, hey, you should start looking at at delegating obviously some of your duties, but also delegating
Right.
eventually the main course, the main part of your job, if you want to be able to either expand, duplicate, or you yourself, going travel and
It
going
is
abroad. I preach
definitely
this lifestyle a lot.
it is definitely a lifestyle
So I
to
have this
to
conversation
aspire
very
to,
often.
and not just travel. I tell people whatever it is that makes you happy. It could be just being outdoors and going hiking, or spending time with family. Exactly. Travel is just
Family,
one
yeah,
thing that you and I just agree on, that we love so much. And this applies to any aspect of
yeah.
anything that floats people's boats. I tell people, I mean, look at what I do. Travel is something I love. I talk about. Find that thing that really works for you and that you really want to spend your free time doing. And I really
Exactly.
appreciate you mentioning that. And obviously you have a lot of knowledge. You've been doing this for so long, and a lot of insights you've shared in this conversation so far. But if you have to distill it down to a couple of sentences, for anyone listening to this right now, obviously business is something that you understand so well. What would you say that someone needs in order to go down this route of just taking one's life by the horns, just like grabbing the bull by the horns, but taking one's life by the horns, business wise?
Hmm.
Because personally, I enjoy the freedom that comes with having a business, but also comes with a lot of responsibility as well. What's your thought on that? And just maybe from your life story and your experiences, just distill it down into a couple of sentences for me, please. That's
I'm gonna have
that's
to,
that's
sorry, take
great.
a second to think about it because I actually have a lot of things coming. Yeah. Not that
No,
I'm lacking answers. I actually have a
yeah,
lot of
that's
answers. I'm trying to see what is the most important. And so, okay, there is one thing, and that actually that's not from me. That comes from another book that has been very, in fact, impactful on me. And basically, that's the premise of the book. It's the book is
mm,
the Happiness Advantage. The name of the author is yeah, I can't remember, but the Happiness Advantage. You should check it out. I read it a couple of times, and basically, the premise of the book is that instead of looking for success in order to be happy, try to focus on being happy,
mm,
and the success will come. And then the whole book is around that, and it's basically a treatise or an essay on the positive psychology. And he's actually one of the first one going into positive psychology, and so on. It's super interesting. But my point being, if you find what makes you happy, um,
right.
happy,
Not in
I'm
the
talking
moment.
long term, not just one hit of dopamine, but something, yeah, exactly, something that drives you, something, I love traveling. I love learning about Islam.
Mm,
That's one of my passion. I'm very involved in the mosque and in Islam and so on. I love
right.
exploring and outdoors activities and so on. So if I manage to focus on doing the things that make me happy and content and at peace with myself, with my life, and so on, and where with where I am mentally and physically, then this mindset of always constantly being
Mm,
a happy person and sharing the right vibes to others and so on, will
right.
attract the success one way or another. um, and again, I'm not saying that. I really don't want to sound arrogant, because I'm not saying that I'm at the level of success where
Mm,
I'd like
yeah.
to be. But I don't care. I mean, it doesn't really matter.
Right.
I'm working towards certain
Yeah.
goals, but those are not my end goals. My end goal is to have this peaceful life, to do all those things that make me happy, being surrounded with
Right.
people, like my wife and my family when I can go visit them, and all those things, volunteering, all of that drives me. So even if I don't reach that goal or that level of success, it doesn't really matter, and I'll move on to something else. That takes me to my
No,
second point,
please.
and I
This
know
is a
you asked
very
me to
important
summarize, but
subject
it's going to
too.
be very tough. But my, awesome. I'm glad you. Thank you. So my second point is also, don't rush. Be patient in reaching whatever goals you set. for both my businesses, I probably could have grown a lot faster, and there would have been some challenges and some cool things associated to that. But I'm in the mindset of
Hmm.
trying to learn along the way, um, uh, from the failure, from the success, from improving each steps along the way, and not rushing towards wherever you want to be. A lot of people are
Right.
impatient and they want to be successful
Hmm.
right away. I want quick money and so on. No, it might take a year, it might take 10 years. Doesn't matter if you're enjoying the process, if you're learning along the way, and you're improving your
Absolutely.
ways. You're already winning, right? And Yeah, that's I think I mean those are the two main things that come to mind. Um, and we could definitely discuss a lot further on all this idea of having the right mindset and nurturing the right mindset
Yeah,
as you're
man. I
growing the
mean,
business,
you
or
you
just
hit on
as you're
two
going
very
through life.
important points here, and I couldn't agree with you more. And thanks for sharing that. Sounded very true to who you are. And of course, I wouldn't end this conversation without asking that question that a lot of people right now. It's like past midnight where you are. You work remotely. You told me earlier that 1 a.m. Imagine that. That's crazy.
1 a.m.
I mean, how do you
Yeah.
manage to work? I mean, be on that time zone. Of course, remote work is something that is very like second nature to us as people. How do you manage? How do you balance all these things out? Being on the other side of the world and still able to
Mm.
be productive as you are.
Yeah, actually, I'm so glad you bring that up because I would have been disappointed not to bring that up during this whole conversation, because it's also, I mean, we have to talk about the
Right.
challenges that come with working remotely. That's a true fact, and there has to be some challenges, and one of them being mindful of the time zone,
Hmm.
and when you work on multiple time zone. I work on three different time zones, and one is basically 11 hours behind me, 12 hours behind me,
Wow.
and 14 hours behind me. So I'm basically working right now from roughly from 6 7 p.m. my time until 1 a.m. Sometime up to 2 a.m. And so it is okay to answer that point. Not only being mindful of it, but actually
Hmm.
creating habits and systems for your own life. So I'm really big on habits, and there are tons of great books
Right.
to learn habits. We are creatures of habits, and it is very important wherever you are in life, to have some proper um, um, you know um, yeah, some proper habits. I was trying to use a different word, but that's the one. So it did take some getting used to. When I moved to Kuwait, I was
Hmm.
5 hours ahead of my market. Now I'm 12 hours ahead of my market. So adapting my life, and it takes a few days or sometimes a few weeks
Hmm.
to actually get in that routine. Routine. That's the word I was looking for. um, but having a routine, being
Yeah.
a nomad doesn't mean, hey,
Right.
every day is craziness and every day is adventure. No, you need to have proper routine. With my wife, middle of the day, typically either noon or 1 p.m. We go to a coffee shop. I love
Mm.
working. I have a great office with a great view, but I still
Absolutely.
need to go outside. So we go to a different coffee shop. We sit down for like 2 hours, get some work done. Then I come home. We have a bunch of things to do, and then I start working. Well, by working, I mean meetings and networking,
Mm.
and all those things after 6 or 7 p.m. And I go to bed typically at 1:30 a.m. and I wake up at
Wow.
5:30 a.m. So I don't sleep much at night, because
Yes.
as Muslim, we have to
Yes.
pray 5 times a day, and the first one is at dawn. Which, by the way, Islam also does gives you
Yes,
this
absolutely.
a
I
lot of
agree.
this routine, because you have those five
Because I
prayers
went
every
to,
day. You
I
have to say
actually
them on
went to an
time.
all Muslim high
Yeah,
school
so that
myself,
gives you a lot
so
of
I know so
mhm,
much about all these things. Even though I mean I am not a Muslim
mhm.
myself, but I still like to participate in all of the activities because it kind of gives you like structure and routine in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Structure.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And discipline. Absolutely. That's something that, even, non-Muslim atheists and so on, they work hard on creating systems and habits and discipline in their life. Well, that's something that is inherent to Islam. More
Mm,
um, more important than anything else.
right.
You have to pray, and you have to pray on time. Just to talk about only the prayer, but it's the same with fasting and so on.
Mm,
So it actually teaches you how
yeah.
to be
There's already
disciplined,
those
how to
frameworks. It now
avoid the things
depends
that
on
you
you to
shouldn't you
apply
shouldn't
them
do, how
into
to
your
do
own
the thing.
individual lives.
Exactly. It's kind of this. Exactly. Yeah. It gives you this life education, which you can then
Right.
transfer to your professional life. And so that has been the case for me. But back to your subject, the topic. Yeah, having a proper routine, proper habits, specifically for work, being well organized. Having a calendar. My schedule is for every day. It's
Hmm.
pretty much scheduled by 15 minutes by 15 minutes. And I was just talking about it with a close friend and multi-business owner, Jen. If she, I know she's going to be listening to that, so shout out to her. And she's the same way. We have our entire schedule for the entire week. Plugged on our calendar by every 15 minutes, every
Wow.
30 minutes. There is something to do work wise, or
Right.
going to the gym, going to this volunteering opportunity, going to the mosque, going to this and that. But having a
Hmm.
lot of good organization in your life and in your time, good time management. It's also crucial that those routine habits, time management. You need to develop that if you want to be a successful
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, there's
nomad,
so much we can still,
digital nomad,
talk about. I
or
mean,
having this kind of lifestyle.
I was taking so much notes and a lot of things I just want to touch on, but I think that's, a perfect, place to, to leave the listeners with and just, to just round this up because obviously I don't want to take any more of your time. It's late where you are right now.
We'll do if
Of
it's
course, absolutely, absolutely.
we'll do a part two.
We have to,
Let's wait a few weeks
we
or a
have
few
to,
months.
definitely,
There
we
you
have to.
go.
No, I just, want to thank you. And if if people want to, reach out to you, where can they find you? Social media, where can people get in touch with you?
Absolutely. Thank you for asking. So I'm very active on LinkedIn. As I mentioned earlier, that's for B2B and even B2C. It's a great platform. So on LinkedIn, my name Karim Kerachni, Karim
Yeah, of course. I'll leave it in the show
Kerachni.
notes
It's
and
probably going to be
links to
in the
everything.
title. So I'm the only one. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, so I'm the only one. If you search, my name, you'll find me. If you want to learn more about Property Guys, so it's propertyguys.com, specifically Massachusetts. So you can Google Property Guys Massachusetts. You will find my website, and some information. And even my phone number. If it's someone who is in North America, if you want to text me, I'm a lot more text guy. My business line is 857-308-1234. So all of the above. And actually,
Yeah, please go on.
side plug. My cleaning business. I just thought about it, but I'm actually looking to fully sell the whole business now. I sold only 50% last year. We've done a lot of improvement and grow the business. Now it's in great position to be sold. So if there is
Mm.
someone in Canada or North America who is looking for pretty much a turnkey business with two branches in Halifax and Ottawa, and is interested in looking into it,
Yeah, and one more
same
thing that just
information.
came
Reach
to
out on
mind as
LinkedIn,
you were
send me a
talking
text,
about that
and
because
we can chat.
I mean personally, I mean because coincidentally, I was talking to someone a few days ago, a guy by the name of Neil, and he has a successful cleaning business. Like I said, he has a franchise now. Now he runs a franchise model for this business that he started from his room a couple of years ago, and I more and
Nice.
more I've been thinking about the idea of looking into the idea of starting something similar, like in a local market, where I'm based, the Baltimore, Washington
Hmm.
region. And, one thing I struggle with that I think where I'm going with this is the fact that a lot of people listening to this, I know for a fact, because I was just talking to a listener the other day, and we kind of just connect and you're sharing business ideas and whatnot, and that's something that really caught their ears, and they were thinking, but I mean, how do you even start this thing? It seems like there's a good opportunity here, and I think what someone listening to this, for
Hmm.
example, myself and that other guy might be interested in. Can I talk to this guy
Hmm.
about how to even start a local cleaning service? How to, I mean, what frameworks do I need to put in place? What do I need to have out, website, booking
Absolutely.
tools and whatnot. And I think a lot of people might be interested in talking to you about that, as well as, this property guys that we
Absolutely.
talked about. So if you're open to that, I will leave your contact and of course in the show notes, and people can reach out to you, maybe just book a call in the calendar, just talk about all of these things, because I think there's an opportunity there as well.
Most certainly, yeah, absolutely. I'd be more than happy. I mean, I'm very open. As you mentioned at the very beginning, this is the kind of business and
Right.
industry where there is no shortage of clients. There is enough to eat for everyone. So I think it's important to help one another. Pretty much every other cleaning company owner that I've met, even within my market, we ended up just being friends and even helping one another, sending some business to one another, because there is it's one of those industries where there is so much
Right.
potential business that there is no point being in competition. And you mentioned plumber earlier, contractor, landscaping. So a lot of industries like this, if you look into it,
Absolutely.
there is a ton of potential. It doesn't take that much to get started. Maybe less than $1,000, $2,000 tops, and yeah, you can basically grow from scratch, learn the business, turn it into an actual business instead of just a job, and then just being the
Right.
owner instead of being the manager. And as you're the owner, you can sell it, you can expand it, you can there is a lot of potential. You can
Absolutely.
work on it remotely and so on. So that's kind of in a nutshell how it goes. Look into what you need initially for your industry. In cleaning, you need maybe the bare minimum, a Facebook, business Facebook account, some, cleaning supplies, and that's it, and you put an ad or two on Craigslist. Like that's the bare minimum, costs you maybe $500. You can get started. You're gonna start making some, some money. See how much you want to price yourself. Start making some money, and
Reinvest, of
don't
course.
spend that money. Reinject it into the business. Maybe into yeah, maybe into some ads, maybe into a website, maybe into some, more supplies and better supplies. You're gonna make some more money the next month, and so on and so forth. Then some social media posting and advertising, some networking. Usually, networking is free or very cheap. Meet some people, and you,
Wow.
you can go from there. That I just literally just gave
That's
you the first three steps to start one of those businesses. It's that simple.
That's really awesome, man. Yeah, I mean, thanks for sharing that, and just thank you for just having bring in a great, positive attitude into this conversation, and just sharing as much as you have. I really truly appreciate that, because you just made this whole thing easy for me, and I just had to pick out from whatever you said and just go from there. I really appreciate that, and yeah, I'll put Kareem's contact information, everything you want to know about him, how you can reach out to him in the show notes. You can go grab it and be in touch with him. I know I'll be in touch with him because I have so much to learn in this whole field myself. So thank you again for coming, man, and hopefully we'll have part two of this
Thank you
conversation
so
soon.
much. It was a real treat to be chatting with you. I did not see the time fly. I don't know if it was an hour or so, but I could work for another 3 hours
I
because
know.
you gave me a big boost of energy and and insight. So
That's
thank you so
good.
much for having me. And once again, congratulations on your show. Cause it does bring a lot of value to people. It is a niche that where we need this kind of information and value. So yeah, keep doing what you're doing. It's awesome.
Thank you, man. I appreciate those comments, and I'll talk to you again soon.